How's everybody doing? So, I wanted to talk about the chess world stuff because it's actually kind of really wild and off the wall. Obviously, no one thought it was going to continue like it did today. I still love the chess, but honestly, this kind of drama really gets in the way for me entertainment-wise. I'm not just saying that to be like performative or like try to pretend I'm above it. I'm not above it, like I'm here to talk about it. I think it's pretty interesting. But as far as enjoying watching the game, it doesn't help to have this uncertainty around, oh my gosh, are they even going to play each other? It totally makes it hard to focus on the game. And that must be true for Hans as well. I don't know how he's focusing on his games. He's still in second place, I think, at the end of today. Of the like round robin or something. So, Magnus obviously resigned his game after 2 moves, and we can watch it happen.
But everything.
So the funny thing is, this is Alejandro. I forget his last name. He's really one of the best commentators in chess. Extreme. I think he's definitely a GM, right? And so extremely skilled, but like very personable and like a good guy. You can just tell. And so, I like this whole commentary team, actually. The whole Champions Chess Tour commentary team is really good. Jovanka, David, Simon, Kaya. Let's check this out. So he happens to be like featured. He's talking about the fact that Magnus withdrew from a tournament, which is a huge deal because you fuck up the whole tournament. It was a round robin tournament. So it relies on there being an even number of people. And Magnus dropped out. This was just a few weeks ago. After losing to Hans, this young 19-year-old Hans, 19-year-old American, to make it even worse, to add insult to injury. But anyways, it was a very good game, and Hans played extremely well. I wouldn't say it was superhuman or anything, and Alejandro said the same thing. I mean, it was very good playing. But he beat Magnus as black. And so Magnus then the next day withdrew from the tournament and posted on Twitter something that is clearly suggestive of an accusation that Hans has cheated. So this is what he posted on Twitter. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. This is when he withdrew from, it's the Sinkefeld Cup. So it's an American, it's a very famous American chess tournament sponsored by huge money Rex Sinkefeld in St. Louis. And it's a huge chess tournament, it's the biggest American chess tournament, right? I mean, so Magnus withdrew from it and he posted this, if I speak, I'm in big trouble. So that's clearly implying he has something that he wants to say, right? But this was September 5th. It's now September 19th. It's been 2 weeks. He hasn't said shit. He hasn't made a statement. He didn't get interviewed today. They waited for him. They called him. They wanted to interview. He didn't interview. The guy on his team, Peter Hein Nelson, is apparently going to be on this broadcast tomorrow. So everything I'm saying is speculation, and I just wanted to go live and wanted to give my thoughts because it actually gets kind of nuts. And I think there's really something going on. Well, there definitely is something going on, is the whole reason it's crazy, but no one knows what's going on. So it's honestly a little bit like me trying to predict Better Call Saul when I was doing these live streams before the episodes. So the problem wasn't just Magnus tweeting that. It's obviously all the hubbub and furor that happened after. Hikaru Nakamura talked on stream, sort of going back and forth about whether he thought it was possible Hans was cheating. A lot of people took what he was saying as an accusation, but I don't know if that's what he meant necessarily. So then, after that, I'll show this other clip first. This was Hans the next day, okay? So Magnus withdrew from this major tournament, and Hans plays the next day. I think he drew against someone. So Hans is here, 19-year-old, okay? 19 years old. Being interviewed now, okay? First time making a public statement in the 24 hours since the world champion withdrew from a tournament, and the entire world is thinking that Hans might be cheating because why would the world champion withdraw from a tournament for no reason? So here's Hans's interview, and we are not going to watch the whole thing. So first, he feels like he has to perform perfect analysis, which that's a little unfair to say because they're always trying to do good analysis. But Hikaru, I think, questioned certain ways that Hans didn't go into the analysis in the previous day. It was strange. On the day where Magnus is accusing Hans of cheating, he was a little bizarre in his analysis. I don't want to find the clip, but it did seem to me watching, like, why is he randomly not going? He would, like, be like, oh, but I don't want to go into that line. But now Hans feels like he has to prove himself, which he sort of does. But that's a little unfair to make him prove himself. Like, no evidence has been presented against him except for some past stuff we'll get to. But
so that was my main point. But bishop b3 is sort of the...
Okay, we're not going to watch this whole thing.
Castles, h3.
I mean, he seems calm.
Say 97 now, then d5.
He seems very confident, and as we'll see, he linked to this on his Twitter. It's his pinned tweet, which is watch the entire interview, but he links to just like, he doesn't even timestamp it. He just links to like the 5-hour original broadcast.
We got to speak about the elephant in the room. You've asked to have some words.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of things that have been, this social media stuff, and I just have a lot of things to say, and I've thought a lot about what I want to say and how I'm going to say it, and I think.
So all of this I can write off as social anxiety.
I think I can just, maybe I'll forget something, but let's just discuss a few things. So, first of all,
like the weird, vague cockiness. And then he starts by addressing his accent, people accusing him of having a fake accent, which I have to say is strange to start with that, but I'm not trying to split hairs. That's totally fair. And people accusing him of faking his accent are, stepping out of line. It's fair for his accent to be shifting, and like if you want to make fun of that, it doesn't have any like salience to it. Don't attach it to accusations of him cheating. That's completely separate and very bizarre to be dragging his accent into that as if it's proof.
This is just the first thing. This is just the most funny thing.
I just don't know if I would be able to start with talking about the accent with the world champion having not been there today at the tournament because apparently he thinks I cheated.
The Magnus opening. Okay. Now,
now he's addressing, like, in his interview the previous day, he was talking about the opening he played, and he said he was completely prepared, and he had studied that line they got into, like, fucking many moves in. I don't remember how many, but, like, too many moves in. He said he had studied it that morning. So Alejandro in the interview was like, you studied it this morning? Like, I don't feel like finding the clip, but just take my word for it. Like, he was like, you studied that this morning. Like, it was, that doesn't happen. Like, statistically, that doesn't happen. So it was bizarre. And then he said the reason he studied it was because Magnus played like Wesley So in some tournament and it wasn't real. He was wrong. And okay, things slip your mind, but like that seems like one of those things where like people are overly specific when they're lying. He was wrong, obviously. He was talking about, a game that didn't exist. Like neither of the people he was talking about had played in that tournament. You know what I mean? Okay, so you're wrong, and that's not a big deal. That's literally not a big deal. But like, that's kind of strange to be so specifically wrong. Usually a chess player would just like doubt that they knew it and then not mention it. Like just say, oh, I probably know it somewhere. Like it was just strange. Like, why'd you go out of your way to be so wrong? That's not something normally. Anyways, not a big deal. But he's responding to that now, I believe, by saying,
saying that there was no idea why I checked this. Well, first of all, people are absolute idiots because...
Yeah, so this is where he started to lose me. I was genuinely like with him. I'm not a Magnus stan at all. I'm not even really like a Magnus fan. I'm a Magnus fan like you might be a fan of like Michael Jordan or LeBron James. It's like I don't dislike him. I think he's amazing. But he's not my favorite player. I mean, Vladislav Artemiev is my favorite player. And a bunch of other ones probably I like before Magnus, including Levon Aronian or probably Jan Nepomniachtchi. But anyway, so I'm not a Magnus fan, and none of this is coming from a place of trying to defend him. But this is where Hen started to lose me because, like, okay, yeah, making fun of your accent is stupid. Relating that to cheating is stupid. But now let's see him defending why he said he studied that opening that morning.
Because the explanation I'm going to give is going to make you all the top GMs look like total idiots. So the position, first of all, they said there was zero game. There was a game. Check the database. There's this thing in chess called transpositions, okay? Now, when he played the move A3, of course I'm expecting the move.
And that's fair. I mean, his point about transpositions is fair. The attitude is aggressive, obviously, but I mean, again, I can't fault him for that. He's 19 and he's in the public eye. It must be really tough. It's not that big of a deal to have some attitude. He's like, no, it's not crazy that I like say I knew this line 5 or 6 moves and like studied it 5 or 6 moves into the line that morning. That's not crazy because actually that line could be, you know, you can get to that line from a few different ways. So there's transposition, you can get to the same position through different openings. So he's saying it's not crazy that I would have studied that. I didn't have to study the line basically to study the position. And okay, that's a very valid point. Let's see where this goes. I don't quite remember.
Catalan.
With the knight f3 move order, you mean?
Yeah, so let's say you play knight f3,
Okay.
d5, g3, bishop b4 check. Wait, there's a move, knight c3 here. And then after castle,
I mean, he's entertaining. He's definitely got some pizzazz. Look at Alejandro's face. He's definitely entertaining.
there's a move, bishop g2. And
Brings an American flavor to the chess world, I could say.
after dc4, a3, bishop c3, bc3, c5. In chess, we call it transposition. Now, let's say theoretically, Magnus has been playing
So if he's wrong about this or wrong in some way, I don't know. And Alejandro wouldn't say probably, unless it was like really obvious.
Here there's a move, queen a4. I don't know. This is a move that I was concerned with.
Okay. I don't need to go through all this.
I'm clearly missing many, many chances, and it's extremely human chess. No, okay. So this is, I think, is that everything about the interviews? Have I covered everything?
It's up to you.
No, I have, because there's been, the interviews have been a key point.
He saw this as a way of clearing up stuff from the interviews? This is not just an interview. This is an interview just about things. You don't have to just talk about the previous interview.
So maybe now it's coming back. Anyways, so in terms of the interviews, that's fine, right? So now I noticed throughout social media, a lot of people who I once had respect for,
Here we go.
who I once sort of looked up to. A lot of my heroes have decided to hop on this bandwagon. Now,
So I assume he's talking about Hikaru and probably a lot of others, but yeah.
Now, there have been a lot of speculation, and there's been a lot of things said, and I think I'm the only one who knows the truth.
So I just want to say, from this point on, objectively, not based on Hans, not based on Magnus, not based on anyone, he should talk for like 60 seconds more at most. Like maybe 2 minutes. But the fact that he goes on for 13 minutes, and like most of this is uninterrupted.
So first of all, there's the situation with chess.com. Now, people have said that my chess.com was banned twice. Okay. So this is what happened. When I was 12 years old, I was.
But he's accused of cheating. Obviously, he'll try to defend himself as long as he's allowed to. No, I agree. He has every right to a vociferous defense. I just think he's not helping his defense by going on for so long. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying like it makes me know that he's lying or something. I just don't know why you would want to, talk for that long. It makes you look way too defensive, sort of. Yeah. Like you might as well, like he repeats himself a lot.
And I was playing, and he came over on an iPad with an engine, and I was 12 years old, and he said, he started giving me the moves. I was a child. I had no idea what happened. Now, this happened once in an online tournament.
He was saying he was a kid and someone gave him the moves for a tournament and it was cheating, so I guess he got in trouble.
I was just a child. And
he's admitting to times when he cheated.
Nothing happened.
But that was a very, very small one, the one he just mentioned.
Done. Now, 4 years later, when I was 16 years old during my streaming career.
This is the big one, because he was like on stream when it happened.
In an absolutely ridiculous mistake. In unrated games. After that, when I was 12, I have never, ever in my life cheated in an over-the-board game, in an online tournament. They were in unrated games. And I'm admitting this, and I'm saying my truth because I do not want any misrepresentation.
Okay. I just found this. He's talking about, we have a clip of it that we can watch. This is him getting banned. But let's hear him talk about it first.
I just wanted to get high rated so I could play stronger players. So I cheated in random games on chess.com. Now, I was confronted, I confessed, and this is the single biggest mistake of my life, and I'm completely ashamed, and I'm telling the world because I do not want any misrepresentation, and I do not want rumors. I have never cheated in an over-the-board game. When I was 12 years old, I have never, ever, and I would never do that. That is the worst thing I could ever do, cheat in a tournament with prize money. Now, I made that mistake, and this is something, it's not something I was doing consistently. Never when I was streaming did I cheat. Never did I misrepresent my strength. So I made this mistake. I was confronted by chess.com. I had fully admitted, and I stopped playing chess.com. Now.
Okay, let's watch it now.
Yeah, so Nick will get you a diamond membership.
So he's 16 in this clip, okay?
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. But yeah. I got banned. Oh, I got banned.
Hi, can I have one too?
She banned me. Just banned me. He banned me. Oh my God. I got banned. I can't even joke around. I got banned. Are you kidding me? I'm going to Lead Chess. What, you banned me? Actually, yeah. You want to play on Lead Chess? Let's go right now.
Okay, so this was 3 years ago. Like, I guess it's worth saying, like, you know, obviously I believe people can change. Like, I don't think it's like once a cheater, always a cheater type of thing. But, like, ask yourself, like, how many international masters? He was an IM at that point, which is really hard to become an IM. How many IMs are there in the world? 3,800. So that's not a lot. So that's very hard to become an IM. And he was a 16-year-old IM and cheated. And just ask yourself, how many IMs do you think people who become IMs at age 16, so they have a bright future and a career, how many of them do you think would ever cheat at the game of chess? And it's strange to me and a little suspicious that in this interview he says, I have never cheated over the board. I would never cheat in a tournament game with prize money. Because frankly, the fact that there's prize money and the fact that it's over the board is, in my opinion, completely irrelevant to the ethical question. I really mean that. I think completely irrelevant. I don't think the addition of money or, you know, the tournament status of it or the in-person status of it has any bearing, actually. I mean, you could be playing in a serious way with someone with no money and, like, still it could be a real form of betrayal if they were cheating. It would be like, how could you do that? Like, if we had an agreement, you know, I think of the Office quote, like, you cheated when I specifically asked you not to? And I watched the interviews today with Levon Aronian and Anish Giri. They really seemed, I wouldn't say they sided with Magnus, but they definitely were like, they were basically like, yeah, like when someone has cheated, okay, so these are online games for a lot of money. So they're not over the board, but they're for tournament money, so of course Hans wouldn't cheat. I don't want to criticize him too much because I know he's 19 and I'm sure he's a great guy and he's going to have a bright future, but like, you need to be a little more understanding that like 3 years is not a long time in adult time. The fact that you cheated 3 years ago is that's not a lot of time as far as like your career goes. I don't think Hans is cheating. I think it's very hard to cheat, and I think he probably did learn his lesson. He really did lose friends and professional contacts because of this. I think Magnus is being a sore loser, but I also think he has a point, which is maybe something he should reveal. And okay, so up until very recently, this was his Twitter photo, which is, very cool. That's a very cool thing to do, very masculine. He's changed it, as I saw.
Against Magnus, obviously Magnus puts his tweet, clearly some insinuations, and then everyone starts to pile. I get an email from chess.com saying that they've privately removed access to my chess.com account and that they have uninvited me from the Global Chess Championship. Now, 3 days ago, I met with...
So I don't know, the Global Chess Championship is some big event that's that goes on. I don't know too much about it, but that's a big deal for him to be uninvited from that.
Someone very high up in chess.com at the Singfield Cup had amazing words. But because of this game against Magnus, because of what he said...
See, here's another thing I could really fault Hans about, which is he says someone high up at chess.com, and in a minute from now, he says it was the CEO, Daniel Wrench. So it's like he hadn't even decided going into this interview whether or not he was going to reveal Daniel Wrench's name, which obviously is not a good professional decision to do. But it did seem to, I mean, if what he's saying is true, chess.com is unfairly banning him from an event just because the world champion suspects him of cheating, which would be really fucked up. It's possible that chess.com made their decision for reasons other than what Magnus wanted. And I think Hans is biased against considering that option. I think Magnus and chess.com just literally fused companies. So they could, it's a huge conflict of interest, honestly.
But because of this game against Magnus, because of what he said, they have decided to completely remove me from their website. Now this is after I have already fully admitted, and they have the best cheat detection in the world. They know that I'm not a cheater, and that I give everything to chess.
At this point, he might as well, if what he's saying is true, he might as well ask them to release proof that he's not cheating. I'm just saying there's no point in even talking about chess.com's cheat detection because they're not going to reveal that unless they're compelled to. So chess.com put out this statement a few days ago after what he said in this interview. Chess.com said, the last few days have been tumultuous for many in the chess community. At this time, we have reached out to Hans Niemann to explain our decision to privately remove him from chess.com in our events. We have shared detailed evidence with him concerning our decision, including information that contradicts his statements regarding the amount and seriousness of his cheating on chess.com. We have invited Hans to provide an explanation and response with the hope of finding a resolution where Hans can again participate on chess.com. We want nothing more than to see the best chess players in the world succeed in the greatest events. We will always act to protect the integrity of the game that we all love. So, okay. So they're literally saying that he was misrepresenting things. So the question is, who do you believe at this point? But you don't have to decide because, it's going to come out soon enough. But I just want to say, if chess.com is literally saying we have evidence that the seriousness or quantity of his cheating was different than he portrayed in this interview, this is going to bubble over. But here's what I think is happening. I don't think it's Magnus telling chess.com to act on his irrational whim. I've been following chess really closely for 4 years. I don't think Magnus is that emotional and unprofessional. He really doesn't have a history of doing that. I think what's happening is the other way around. Information is flowing the other way around. Chess.com somehow has made Magnus aware, or Magnus has made himself aware through his connections with chess.com of information and evidence that they have that basically shows that maybe it wasn't just one time. What if it was more? I mean, I'm not suggesting that Hans cheated more than he's portraying, but he didn't say in this interview how many games he cheated in. Are we to believe it was just one game each of those 2 times? How many games was it? Was it really just those 2 occasions? Did he ever cheat on other occasions? Alejandro's not going to ask him these questions. I don't fucking need to ask him these questions, but you have to wonder, is Hans giving the full explanation here? He goes on for a long time.
I worked so hard, and chess is my entire life, okay? Now, if they're going to try to think that I'm going to be silent about what has happened, it is completely ridiculous. I met with Danny Wrench in Miami, and Danny Wrench was the person who confronted me, and I was deeply, deeply indebted to him for handling the ban privately and giving me the chance to redeem myself. Now, after being not playing in chess.com events, I went to over-the-board tournaments, and I decided to myself that the only way to make up for my mistake was to prove to myself and to prove to others that I could win myself. Now that...
Okay. I mean, I don't want to critique everything he says, but I don't see why that would be the solution. If anything, it's I would be I need to be less competitive about chess. Okay, you decided that you wanted to win a lot because you had been caught cheating.
260 games in 1 year. That is why I've training 12 hours a day, because I have something to prove. And now that chess.com has suddenly decided to hop on Magnus's insinuations, Hikaru's very direct accusations. Now they see the opportunity, okay, we're just gonna get rid of this. I believe that this is completely unfair. This is a targeted attack, and if you look at my games, this is not, it has nothing to do with my games. So why do you specifically, why does the CEO Chess come to me and say we're looking forward to having the Global Chess Championship, we're looking forward to you playing on our events, and then right when I...
Okay, these are good questions, right? Why does the CEO of chess.com not want to allow you in their events? But none of us can answer that in this moment.
I beat Magnus, they decided to remove my account and not let me play in the tournaments. This is absolutely ridiculous, and they've only done this because of what Magnus has said, what Hikaru says, and that the entire social media and chess world is completely attacking me and undermining me. And they maybe would think...
It's interesting because, like, when he said this, I think he was right. Like, people were undermining and attacking him, but, like, the tide shifted immediately, basically, after this interview and this day. Because Magnus never said anything. Less because Hans is convincing and more because Magnus is literally not saying anything.
The chess player that I am, and I know what I give to chess. So I'm not going to be scared, to be manipulated, and to be conspired against, to try to ruin my chess career when I know what has happened. So, you know, this, as far as Magnus, this is absolutely, the fact that he did it without saying it, he knew the insinuations that would follow. If you look at social media, every single platform, I'm getting thousands of messages, not thousands.
Okay, again, assuming Hans is totally innocent and justified here, he still should not be going on anymore. He should have stopped by now. We don't need him to say what he's saying.
There are thousands of tweets.
He can let the interview speak for itself.
Everyone is attacking me. And some people are defending me, and I really appreciate those. But when I see people attack me with absolutely zero evidence, people have zero. I'm the only person who knows what happened, and I'm telling you guys that.
Yeah, that really struck me as odd the first time I watched it. That he said, "I'm the only one that knows what happened." I'm sorry, but like, what's the deal there? Like, that's not really something you would say. I'm the only one that knows what happened. Assumes that something happened. When? Is he talking about in the Sinkefeld Cup or when he was 16? When is he talking about?
This is the truth. Now, I really do not think that I would have the courage to say this, but some people, I'm very thankful to the people who helped me make the decision. And you know what? This is the truth, and I really, and now Magnus can and Hikaru. Hikaru, I've never ever cheated against you in an online game.
Bro, we don't need to know specific opponents. You do realize, like, whether you're over the board doesn't matter, okay? Whether it's for money doesn't matter. Whether it's against Hikaru doesn't matter. You do get that, right? Like, that's what's important right now, is that you understand that. Do you agree that cheating is wrong?
And the most ridiculous part, this is that the same players that in this tournament are insinuating that I'm cheating have also made insinuations about people who are making insinuations about me. So let's just say the people who are saying these things about me, they're not that innocent themselves. So
yeah, this really, really does not strike me as believable. But I guess he's talking about what? Fabiano and Jan Nepomniachtchi. There were a few people who gave interviews in the Sinkefeld Cup like that day that it seemed like people were reading a lot into like Jan Nepomniachtchi's facial expression or like people and Tandra's. It was like, I mean, Fabiano might have, I forget who implied what, but like, yeah, they were having a good time with it. Like maybe it was irresponsible, but like, I don't know, man. I still feel like he's too defensive. I don't know. Is that totally unfair? I honestly don't get it. People who say like, no, this is a normal amount of defensiveness. I honestly don't. I really don't agree.
So it's very ridiculous. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but the main thing that I want to say is that I am not going to let chess.com. I'm not going to let Magnus Carlsen. I'm not going to let Hikaru Nakamura, the three arguably biggest entities in chess, simply slander my reputation, because. The question is, why are you going to remove me from chess.com right after I beat Magnus?
Yeah, dude, but the people who can answer that aren't in the room. Do you want them to answer it? Do you want them to answer it publicly? Just ask them to, and then leave it there. I think Magnus might just like have a serious grudge against Hans because maybe Hans cheated more than he's let on in online chess and hasn't owned up to it. And Magnus says, I refuse to play you until you own up to it. I'm not justifying that or saying that I think that's definitely true, but I think there's a chance of that.
You know, again, I'm deeply, deeply sorry for what has happened. It is the biggest single regret of my life. And even now, to look back on it, I can now recognize myself. To give context, I was 16 years old. I don't want to make excuses, but I was living alone in New York City. It was the peak of the pandemic.
Don't. This was really bad that you went on to talk about how you were living alone in New York City in the pandemic. Dude, it was the pandemic, dude. The pandemic hasn't even been 3 years long, bro. Bro, you just told us that, oh man, no, when I cheated, it was in the pandemic. It's like this pandemic, dude? This one that's still this pandemic. And the fact that you lived alone in New York City, oh man, that does not help you to share that.
And at that, I have been financially independent since I was 16 years old. I left my family and I was living alone at 16. I had rent to pay and I wanted to, and I was willing to do anything to grow my stream. So, of course, I made a childish mistake and I will have to live with that. But I'd rather live with that with everyone knowing the truth instead of people making simple...
So what's the truth? How many games did you cheat in online? And what was the exact way you cheated?
You know, speculation about me, because this is the full truth, and I'd like to see if everyone else can actually tell their truth.
When chess.com sends you this email, did they give a reasoning?
No reason.
Okay, so do we think he's being honest that chess.com gave him no reasoning? Because, you know, that's pretty messed up. Yeah, that would be really messed up if they did that. Adam says, I think Magnus doesn't like losing when he should win, especially when he suspects it's a cheater. Yes, and I don't think Hans probably cheated in that game. I think Magnus might have just lost. It is very sus that Hans said he studied the line that morning. But is he just, I think he was just bragging to be weird. I don't think he cheated. I think this all came after Magnus lost that one game to Hans in the Crypto Cup. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, is that a thing? I forgot about that.
And they say I couldn't log in, sending me email. A few hours later, they have rescinded, we have privately, so they didn't want to ban me publicly because I didn't have to give a reason. And they think that they can scare me because they think that I'm not going to talk about it because...
This just doesn't feel true. I'm really just giving you my impression that what he's saying feels so biased that it's not true. I could be wrong.
I'm afraid to admit this, but this is an online... I did this when I was 12 years old. And then the second...
Yeah, but they did it for the second one.
Other times I did, it was not even in over the World Tournament, it was not even in a prize money online tournament, it was in absolute random games. And I understand...
The randomness of the games doesn't matter, Hans. And it upsets me that you continue to mention the randomness of the games.
It is my greatest mistake, and I've done everything I've done in the past few years has been to make up for that mistake. And that is my entire purpose as a chess player, is to prove to myself and prove to others that I'm trying to do better. And I hope that my results and my commitment and my hard work has shown that I have learned from this, and that I learned my lesson.
Okay, so we're done looking at this interview, but let's take this as an opportunity to look at his results over the last few years. Okay, so this is his FIDE profile. So his B year is 2003. He was B'd in 2003. But let's look at his rating. So the light blue is the classical rating. So that's the one we want to look at. His classical rating. Okay, so he cheated. What were we talking about? Somewhere around here, right? 2019, 2020. He said it was a pandemic. It was probably here. Okay, so that was when he cheated online. Okay, but since then, okay, he's gone from 2480 to 2680. So he's gained 200 points in ELO. 200 rating points in under 2 years. That's really good. And that's since being caught cheating on chess.com. So that's 200 points in under 2 years. Let's look at a few other famous players. Pragananda, okay? Okay, so that's an insane... you can't really compare anyone to Pragananda. Okay, so that's like more... Because you're having like 2,000 basically to 2,400 in like 2 years. So that's even more. That's way more. That's like almost double Hans. So that's Pragananda. But Okay, then let's look at Fabiano. 2670 in 2009 July. 2594. So, okay. Wait, hold on. Maybe let's do it here. So 2600 in 2007 October. Hans got all the way to... Well, we're looking at the rating he got to get to like 2640. Okay. So, that was 1 year? Whoa. He did almost 200 in 1 year to get to 2645. Oh man, Magnus is next level, bro. You can't even compare. Holy fuck, dude. What the shit? Okay. I don't even... What are we learning anything here? Is this a total waste of time? July, so 2675, 2006, July. I don't know. That's more than Magnus. 2645 in 2006, April. 2005, April, 2548. So yeah, that's only 100 ELO in a year. And Hans got 200 ELO in a year. 2645 from 2484. Okay, it's a little under 200 ELO. But that's like, y'all, that's a lot of ELO. Okay, last one, Faruja. Okay, so let's do it from lower to make it even more fair. 2019 February, 2618, so 28 February, 2018 February. Oh, wow, 2549. 2549 to 2618. So only 60 ELO in a year, and fucking Hans is getting 200, almost 200 ELO, like 160 ELO, 170 ELO in a year during the pandemic after getting accused and like actually found to be cheating, and now he's admitted that he was cheating. But then he got 200 ELO FIDE. I feel like here's what's happening, and I'm gonna stop talking about this soon. I think he's finally facing the public eye in a more and more direct way, and I think it's coming out that he maybe did more than he has owned up to. He did the classic thing where you try to own up to some things you did wrong, but I think he left some stuff out, and I think we'll find out soon. That doesn't justify Magnus's behavior. I think Magnus is being profoundly unprofessional and immature. Oh yeah. So we didn't even talk about it. So here's what happened today, okay? So after all that, they meet, and here's what happened. Alejandro is on to talk.
It was a very, very good game. It was probably an inspired game, you could call it. But is it an obvious proof of cheating? Definitely not. I don't think he cheated in the Singfield Cup, but everything else is still up in the air.
Sorry, Alejandro. I just have to interrupt you because the game started and Magnus has logged off. What has happened?
Magnus has resigned.
Magnus has resigned the game against Hans Niemann.
Yes. At least that's what it says in our transmission.
He made one move and resigned.
Yes. It looks that way.
Wow. You look shocked, David.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we saw Magnus appear on the webcam, I thought, okay, we're in for a game. At least this will help things blow over.
Look at Alejandro's face.
What do we say now? This is a bigger statement than the tweet, I think.
Yeah, definitely a big statement. And now, he's proved it with his actions, that he's confirming all the rumors and the allegations. And now he needs to make a statement. I'm going to say, he can't just do this.
Wow.
I mean, it's his own tournament, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing this, and this is kind of incredible, right? It's not like this.
It's his own tournament. He owns the tournament. It's his own tournament.
Singfield Cup, a third party making a tournament. It's basically his organization's tournament, and he's resigning in protest on move one. Either he knows something that we don't, and this really needs to come to light, or this is incredibly disrespectful.
Yeah.